Hey lovely sexy gaming people, welcome to today's video, which is we're going to look at Dungeons & Dragons Adventure issue 11, but my delivery has literally just been handed to me by the postie. So we got 11, we got 12 with a spell book tutorial thing. It's a bit disappointing actually. I can see straight away on this doesn't have the specially formulated staples that the combat book had, allowing you to place this into the folder, so that's a bit disappointing. 13 and 14 with the standees. So let's have a look at 13, and I've also received my first coin, so we'll have a look at that as well in a mo. Right, another tin, some more dice. What are we getting this week? Eat, drink and be merry, Curse of the Mummies, discover untold treasure. Right, temporary and maximum hit points. Yeah, temporary hit points. My DM doesn't like temporary hit points. Her attitude is that we should be buying potions to survive combat and she shouldn't be awarding additional hit points. Let me know what you guys think of that in the comments. Be interesting to get other perspectives. So temporary hit points can soak up damage from attacks, while changes to a character's hit point maximum affect how much they can deal. We've just leveled up to level 4 with our characters in our campaign. My fighter has just leveled up to 40 hit points, and obviously now I can have 4 hit die for rolling when I have a long rest, which is quite nice. Now, characters' hit points are recorded on the character sheet as a maximum number and current number. The hit point maximum is how many hit points the character has when they are fully healed or fully rested. Their current hit point total takes into account how much damage they have taken and shows how many hit points they have remaining before they fall unconscious, or in more severe cases, die. The hit point maximum only usually changes when a character reaches the next level and gains additional hit points. However, there are times when that figure can be affected by other in-game spells and abilities. Right, so temporary hit points is what I'm interested in. Some spells and special features have temporary hit points. Temporary hit points aren't the same as hit points. Instead, they act as a buffer against damage, providing a pool of hit points that sits on top of a character. Now, we recently fought a giant crab, which was capable of dealing out like 30 plus damage in a single roll, and several times members of our party were literally reduced to 0 hit points from a single attack from this particular monster. And I think it would have been nice to have some temporary hit points. And we spent a lot of our time administering health potions to each other within that particular scenario. And again, we've recently fought a water drake, which again could deal out some serious damage in a single strike, literally meaning that if it wasn't for the fact that we had cannon that managed to get off a good shot against the drake, we would have been really struggling to bring its hit points down to a point where we could kill it without dying or being knocked unconscious multiple times. Right, when a character has temporary hit points and takes damage, the temporary hit points are lost first, and any leftover damage carries on to their normal hit points. For example, if a character has 5 temporary hit points and takes 7 damage, they lose the temporary hit points and then take 2 damage. Because temporary hit points are separate from a character's actual hit points, they can exceed the character's hit point maximum. A character at full hit points can still receive temporary hit points. Unless the feature that grants temporary hit points has a duration, they last until they're depleted or the character finishes a long rest. Healing can't restore any temporary hit points that have been lost. Temporary hit points gained from 2 different sources also can't be added together. If your character has temporary hit points and receive more of them, the player must decide whether to keep the ones they have or gain the new ones. For example, if a spell grants a character 12 temporary hit points when they already have 10, they can have 12 or 10, not 22. If a character also has 0 hit points, receiving temporary hit points doesn't restore them to consciousness or stabilize them. Those temporary hit points can still absorb damage, but only true healing can revive them. Okay, yeah. So I did know that obviously you could be given temporary hit points, and once you've used those, you don't regain them back. Didn't know that they can't be stacked though, which is, I can see why, but I think it's a bit unfortunate. Right, loot, glorious loot. Finding treasure is an exciting part of any D&D adventure, whether it's coin lifted from fallen enemies or jewels seized from a dragon's hoard. Myself and one other player have just managed to escape from a Baron's fortified manor dungeons, but in our escape bid we came across a golden metallic slime that pooped gold. So we currently have several golden turds, for want of a better description. We have several golden turds of varying weight that is going to be put into the ship's chest to help us purchase our Spelljammer chair and get off the planet. Buy, sell, equip. Once your character arrives back in town laden with loot, what should they do with it? Coin allows them to buy food, drink and lodgings if needed. They can purchase supplies for their next outing and replenish anything they're low on, such as arrows or spell components. They could buy a mount, in turn allowing them to carry more treasure. Cool. Find the right buyer. If your character acquires a particularly rare or unusual art object, they might be wise to hold on to it until they find just the right patron. For example, a portrait of a long dead noble may not fetch much at market, but a living descendant of that noble or a rich historian could be keen to get their hands on it. If your character finds something collectible, like a stash of ancient coins, consider locating an auction house in a larger city and hope for a bidding war. Oh, excuse me. Oh, hiccups. Hate it. Food and drink. Exhaustion condition. We haven't had exhaustion imposed on us yet. The exhausted condition can be a killer. Literally, characters can suffer up to 6 levels of exhaustion, and debilitating effects at each level stack up. In ascending order, these effects are disadvantage on ability checks, halved speed, disadvantage on attack rolls and saving throws, halved maximum hit points, speed reduced to 0, and finally death. From feasting at a king's banquet to roasting meat over a campfire, food unites cultures across the Forgotten Realms and is a crucial part of every hero's day. No one should charge into battle on an empty stomach. Yeah, having been a reserve forces soldier, you also don't want to be doing a fucking advance to contact and fight through over sort of like 500 metres up a valley in the middle of summer whilst wearing your NBC kit after having eaten a heavy lunch. Yeah, puking in your respirator, not fun. Myriad menus, cost of living. So an ale, if you get a gallon of ale, it's 2 silver pieces. An ale mug is 4 copper pieces. A banquet per person is 10 gold pieces. Bread loaf, 2 copper pieces. Cheese hunk, 1 silver piece. Modest meals per day, 3 silver pieces. Meat chunk, 3 silver pieces. Wine in a common pitcher, 2 silver pieces. Fine wine from a bottle will cost you 10 gold pieces. Managing monsters. Part 1. As Dungeon Master, you are responsible for populating your game world with diverse, compelling and challenging creatures for your players to meet, greet or defeat. It's time to up your knowledge of the many monsters you have at your disposal. The Monster Manual is a gold mine of lore and adventure hooks. Did you know that goblins have an affinity for rats and wolves, or that the winged peritons have a humanoid shadow and no one knows why? Try to read up on monsters listed in the adventures you run. You never know how their lore could affect your encounters. Monsters of Faerun, monsters across the cosmos. So, celestials, Fey creatures, celestials, fiends, elementals, and constructs. And then Managing Monsters Part 2. Roll for initiative. DMs love to say it, and players love to hear it. Most of the time, understanding your monster stat blocks at a glance will help with the smooth running of an encounter. Learn how to manage the monsters in your game. Oh, it's an Ankeg. I am trying to slowly build up my monster collection. The plan is also to hopefully sometime in the new year buy myself a 3D resin printer so that I can start 3D printing some monsters for myself. Character creation D, Acolyte. Yartar, which is lore. They say there is never a quiet night in this northern town, which is famous for being a hive of trade and treachery. Sounds like Mos Eisley. The hiring fair. Every summer, the sprawling hiring fair is set up in the fields of north of Yartar, except during leap years when the Shield Meat Festival is held instead. This attracts a wide variety of wild and often undesirable types to the town, including bandits, mercenaries, and Uthgard tribesfolk, all seeking employment from whoever has the coin and the need for specialists in unsavoury activities. Despite its dark reputation, this event also has the benefit of attracting adventurers with more noble intentions, and many adventuring parties have been formed during a Yatarian hiring fair. So, monsters, mummies. Do we invoke the Big Bang discussion? Are mummies zombies and are zombies mummies? Because they're both raised from the dead. Preserved wrath. Clerics of death gods like Baal or Merkil ritually imbue a prepared corpse with necromantic magic to create a mummy. In the embalming process, the newly dead creature's organs are removed and placed in special jars. I think the Egyptians called them canoptic jars. Was it canoptic jars? Its corpse is treated with preserving oils, herbs and wrappings, protecting it from rot. The corpse is then wrapped in linen bandages inscribed with necromantic markings. A mummy lingers in still and silent undeath until lurching from its rest when conditions woven into its creation ritual have been triggered. This could be against an intruder in its place of rest, or a tomb robber seeking its guarded treasures. The presence of a former loved ones or enemies may also cause a mummy to rise. Right, Cat's Cradle. So this is a single encounter again. So playing time 1 to 2 hours. The adventurers are hired as guards for a private auction of tomb artifacts unearthed from Mulhorand, an inland nation east of the Sword Coast. Among these treasures is the Star of Khonsu, a fabled jewel that's piqued the interest of many potential buyers, some of whom are willing to break the law to claim it. As night falls, thieves descend on the auction house to steal the Star of Khonsu. It's said that the pharaohs of Mulhorand entombed themselves alongside their favoured pets, which protected them on their journeys to the afterlife. Tonight, the adventurers learn the truth behind this legend. So there you go. So fairly uninspiring map for a building there, to be quite honest. Manager's office and tool store. The beginning, the encounter, so it's going to obviously talk us all through it. This looks like our artifact, the Star of Khonsu. So we have stat blocks for bandits, a zombie cat. Yes, that's so cool. A zombie cat, armor class 12, hit points 19, speed 40 feet, climb 30 feet. And mummies. Brilliant. So that looks like it could be a great adventure. Come down. Let's have a look at the dice that they've given us for this issue. Again, we get another tin. I was cheeky and gave a tin away for Christmas. What do we got? Yeah. Come out. Yeah. So, another tin. These are nice, actually. I like these. Be still. So are these, is this gold? It looks brown to me, but I do have a colour perception problem in poor light conditions. Haven't put the lights on yet. I was just going by the light from the window at the moment. They look brown. They could be, it could be gold. See what our D20 rolls like. 10, 2, 5, 2, oh, it's not 3, come on, 3, 2, 13, I don't think I'll be using this in a game, 12, 16, that was a nat 20, an 18, and a 1, an 8, yeah, I think I might avoid this one in a game. What do you guys think? I mean, they look nice. Don't know if you can see the pattern. I think the best one to see the pattern on is this D6. And then obviously we have our coin. So I don't know if you can see, we've got a paladin on the front here, according to the text around the rim. Looks nice. There's obviously some sort of dungeon map printed onto it as well. And then on the back we've got Dungeons and Dragons Adventurer and a D20. So I don't know if you can see that. I don't know if this... Yeah, it does. Here we go. Let's take this out. Hopefully you'll be able to see that a bit better. So there's the paladin and then the D20 on the back. Now we should get 4 more of these. It's a fair old weight. It's not light by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, I mean, I was happy subscribing to this just for obviously the channel. I probably wouldn't, if I was just getting this, I probably wouldn't have subscribed to it otherwise, but it looks nice. I like it. And you do get a little mounting frame for all 5 of these coins at some point, which will be quite nice. Right, there you go. that was this week's issue, number 11. There's your coin, there's it, and obviously the tin. Hopefully you join me in the next video. All right, take care. Bye-bye.